Welcome to What Now with Anna and Eric. It's a new year, so we're so excited. We started the Read the Bible in a Year plan.
You did? We were supposed to do that this week? Oh man.
January is
Catching
first.
up to do.
Yeah, so very exciting. And so today is our first episode of What Now with Anna and Eric, going through the Bible in a year. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some Bible recap.
A full reading of what you were supposed to read in 7 days.
Genesis 1,
Yes.
and we're just going to go through the whole thing.
Dramatic
very
reading.
exciting. Yes,
It'll
that'll
be
be
great.
so fun.
Be
I'll make like
good.
the background noises, like the sword clashing. Ah! It'd be very exciting. So that is happening.
That is.
And so we're so excited to talk to you today about the Bible.
Ba-doo!
And since we don't have our regular music here right now, Eric is now going to do a musical rendition to begin this episode of What Now with Anna and Eric. Go!
Happy New Year!
You're so unhelpful. Okay, so here's how I want to start this out.
Fireworks still going up.
Yeah, you're ruining this. You're ruining it.
You brought me into it.
Well, anyways,
Yes.
so here's what I want to start out. If you are here and maybe you started the Read the Bible in a Year plan, because we kind of talked about that before 2020 began, or maybe you're watching this and you did not start the Bible reading in a year plan, but you're like, maybe I want to, but it seems a little late now.
We're not even on our first book yet.
It's day 8. I mean, it's a week.
Yeah. We're not even on the Genesis yet.
That's true. We are still in Genesis. So I kind of wanted to start this out by giving some tips. What I have found is when I have a Bible in a Year plan and I get behind, it's pretty easy to be like, oh no, I missed 3 days. I might as well just stop now.
Yeah.
Or give up.
Just phone it in.
It's done.
I'll catch up with the New Testament.
That's right. Exactly. So what works for me, I don't know what works for you, Eric, but what works for me is instead of going to the day that I missed and like starting from there and be like, oh no, I missed 3 days, now I have to start on January 4th and then start working back. Instead what I do is I look at all the days I missed, I split them up, and then what I do is I start today and just add one chapter that I missed each day.
Wow.
So then that way, you're not like trying to catch up, because that feels different. You're trying to catch up. You always feel like you're behind. But if you just add one chapter you missed to each day of reading, you'll catch up eventually without feeling like you're way behind.
See, I take the opposite approach. I take the just cram everything in
Binge
as
reading.
quick as possible to catch up.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, it was kind of my high school and college way to go about it too. And some things don't change. You know what? You fall behind. And sorry, you're up all night.
Bummer.
And now it's reading the Bible. So I mean, you're up all night reading the Bible. What bad could happen?
That's true.
You know what?
You're
just
right.
cram and catch up.
So, we're going to start out today's episode, and I'm very excited about this. So I'm just going to start by asking, Eric, how did your Bible reading go?
You know what?
Did you complete it?
So here's what's funny is I realized on the podcast days, because what I do is I listen to it in the morning, because on the U version you can just play and you can listen to it, so I just listen to it in the morning, and then I do my Bible reading at night. So like I haven't read today's yet.
Wait, so you read it twice? Wait, so you listen to it?
So I listen to it and just
and
like...
then you like read it at night.
Because like I read it at night. Because what I do is I sit down, I'm doing, Bob Goff has a new devotional out. It's a 365-day daily devotional.
Yeah.
And so I got that for my father-in-law, my dad, and myself. So I'm reading that. So in the morning, I read that devotional, and then it always ends with a question. So I put that at the top of my journal that I journal in for the day. I put that question at the top. And then I listen to the Bible that I'm supposed to listen to for that day in the morning sometime when I'm going about my business. And then at night, I sit down with the Bible and I actually read what I'm supposed to read.
That's very
So,
diligent of you.
Well, but also I have a backup plan. Like if I listen to it, it's in. So if I don't get around to it, at least I got to it.
Like you're done.
Yeah.
You did it.
But if I can actually sit with it and take some time and take notes and stuff like that, then that's the bonus. Because really, in the morning, I am on autopilot. Like, I'm just going through the motions. So I found that if I get up first thing and read, I don't really comprehend it as well as I want to. So at night, I can sit down and read it and actually take it.
Yeah, I find that I zone out if I'm listening to it, so I have to have a physical and actual, like, or digital and read it off my phone or something. But listening, I cannot do listening. I just don't have, like, the brain space for it, I guess. Other people are really good at it, verbal learners.
There's
Good people. I literally had a discussion with somebody about how she said she was reading through the Bible with her husband, and she said the only way they got through Numbers is every time they went on a road trip, they would just binge listen to the book of Numbers. And that's...
I think I would fall asleep. That's not safe
at the wheel?
Yeah.
That would be really bad.
That's not safe at all. No, I'm sure it's going to be exciting this time.
No, it'll be great.
I'm sure it'll be really exciting.
So, this actually has been exciting. I had so much fun. I really enjoyed this experience. I also did not read today because I have a plan that I was working on last year that is almost done but isn't finished. So I read that plan in the morning and then I read this plan at nighttime.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm double
overachiever.
Reading the Bible twice.
Overachiever.
You literally just said you listen and then you read it. You're an overachiever.
But I'm like set up because I know I'm going to fail. So I set up 2 times throughout the day, so I shouldn't be able to fail.
So strategies, if you struggle reading the Bible, set yourself up to fail. It just sounds like a horrible advice.
Set yourself up to succeed in the midst of failure.
Set yourself up to succeed. So verbal listening, maybe on your way to work, and then you can read later.
The guy's voice, this is not a knock if he's listening to our podcast.
Okay.
The guy who reads the Bible at YouVersion is a little, I don't know, it's a tough listen.
It's got some intensity to it.
It's a tough listen.
There are different versions too, like there are some like really dramatic ones, they change voices and there's background noises.
What?
It's very fun. Yeah, it depends on like what version you listen to. The narrator changes.
Wow.
So there you go, fun tips. Alright, so let's jump into this. I have a lot of notes.
Wow, there you do. Look at that.
These are all of my notes.
Do you know what's great? You want to see all my notes? Look at they put them on computers now.
Okay, you're rude.
Look at all these.
Alright, so I created my own Bible recap.
Wow.
Because
you do real, like, we're nearing the end of Genesis.
It's gonna, no, they're short. They're short and to the point, so it works. So I wanted to Bible recap for people who have not been in the plan yet. You know what we're talking about. But this is also a fun Bible recap, so it's not going to make complete sense, but it will make some sense.
Who wrote Genesis?
Who wrote Genesis? Do you want to answer that question? Wasn't it Moses?
It sure was. Good job.
Yeah.
Point for you. Congratulations.
Yes. Or believed to be Moses. Or are they pretty sure? One of those they weren't sure if he wrote, and then some of them they were like,
listen, I'm a simple man. Simple answers. First 5 books of the Bible, Moses.
Alright, so the author was Moses. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
We talk about him later. Okay, so
we'll get to him.
He's not in Genesis yet.
How many chapters in the book of Genesis?
Gosh, what is 40 something?
50.
I was gonna say 52, and I was like, that seems like a lot.
Alright. Well,
exactly 50? 50. Yeah.
So there you go. You know what? Those are my 2 pieces of trivia.
Any other
one for 2.
I just want to do my Bible recap. Okay, you ready for this?
I'm so excited.
Do you want me to say the chapter and then the recap, or should I just like go straight through?
Listen, you do you.
Okay, this
the viewers are excited.
A quick recap of Genesis chapter 1 through Genesis chapter 24, with First Chronicles in there somewhere. Why are you laughing? It's not funny. Okay, here we go.
So, tip number 3, if you fall behind, just get on this podcast and Anna will catch you up.
I got your back.
Because you have a whole week's
I don't know that it counts
right here.
that way, but here we go. Okay, Genesis chapter 1 through Genesis chapter 24. Recap. Ready for this? God creates. God separates. God evaluates. God blesses. God rested. God put man in the garden to work and care for it. God forbids. God made woman. Temptation, God curses, siblings, murders, births, lineage, lineage again, rampant sin, one righteous man, lots of water, lots of time, a promise, a rainbow, Noah blessings and curses, lineage, language barrier, lineage again, promised land, first glance, she's my sister, not my wife, family separation, best uncle ever, details of Israel's future, Hagar has a son, circumcision, new names, Sarah laughs, pending destruction, Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot's daughters, bad life choices repeated, birth, exile, promises, a son sacrifice, burying Sarah, and finding Isaac's wife. You have now experienced the Bible recap of Genesis chapter 1 through Genesis chapter 24.
There's so much in there.
There is so much. I was looking through this and I was like, it has been 8 days. We went through like a full family history and then some.
You know what's funny?
There was so much content.
Just like
look
things
at
that
all
stick out
of
in
these
there.
pages. Things that stick out in there.
Like son sacrifice.
Yes.
Didn't actually go through with it.
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, if you're listening to this for the first time, and I just told you, there's a sacrifice.
Just so you
Some
know,
dude sacrifices son.
he didn't actually go through with it.
But he stopped.
That is my notes. I did want to talk about that because I thought it was interesting.
There you go. So now, if you have not read yet, you're all caught up, and you can start today.
You can start today.
Right where we're at.
Exactly.
Day 8.
So,
all right.
Here's what I wanted to do. I had some specific verses, I want to say. I was not planning on going through all of these because that seems excessive.
There's a little much.
There's a little much. So I picked out some things that I thought were interesting. What did you do?
What did you do? Listen, I just show up for this thing. No, but it's funny because I have really wanted to look at this through because I have a few friends who really will not, choose not to believe in any of this. They're like, it's ridiculous, I'm not going to read the Bible, I don't believe in any of this, I'm not going to believe in any of this. So really looking through it is, reading through it this time, I really want to look at it through that lens of like, why does this seem so crazy? Why does this seem so out there? Because I'm so rooted in it that it's just like, if it's miracles, if it seems like it's unexplained, I chalk that up to faith and be like, listen, there's a lot of stuff we can't explain. We just have to have faith that this is really what, and we understand that this is God breathing into Scripture, that Moses was being guided by the Holy Spirit, being guided by God as he wrote this to really give a people group an identity of where they came from, who they are, and that's why it was written. So it might seem a little out there, it might seem a little, but it's kind of a big deal. So I don't know, that's, for me, I'm looking at it as a big picture, really like, man, almost thinking, when Moses wrote this, what was he searching for? What was he trying to do? And you have to understand that he's leading a whole people out of slavery, into this new world.
This is a spoiler. Spoiler. This has not happened yet. Wow. Alright, continue.
But he's, and this Theos U, it's an app you can get, it's a monthly subscription, but they really dive deep into the theology of a lot of things. They break down a lot of books of the Bible, they break down different topics, stuff like that. And it's don't stare at my notes.
I just was curious. I was very intrigued by this conversational direction.
Don't have it pulled up. But really what they went into was when they go into Genesis, they start saying, a lot of people shoot holes in it because they think, well, it's just mythology, it's just this, that, or the other thing. But you have to understand that when Moses wrote this, he's writing it from this perspective of needing to lead a people and giving them their identity and rooting their tradition, their heritage, everything they have into this book to give them who they are, why they're doing what they're doing. And so that's pretty impactful. So that's kind of where I came to starting this.
From like, what was the background of these books? Yeah. So
that's kind of this way, because I've read through at least Genesis and the first part of the Bible, the Old Testament part, from different perspectives, like looking at lineage, and that's tough for me to keep all like I wanted to trace from creation to Jesus, and there's a lot of people.
There's a lot
of people.
And most of them you can't pronounce their names, and then half of them are like, what did you even do?
Yeah, and you can read it from a perspective of location and say, okay, where were these taking place? What part of the country? What does it look like? Kind of put it through there. But this time I really looked at it from like the author point of view, or why it was written, when it was written, that sort of thing. So that's kind of my perspective. So break it down. What do you got?
Why was it written? So I pulled out some specific things that I was looking at, and so there are some verses in there that I just stuck out to me as weird, so I wrote them down because I thought they were weird, and I thought it was interesting. So one of them was when it talks about the giants. It's in one of the chapters in Genesis.
Yes, I think it's
my kabillion notes that I have.
Genesis.
I really didn't think that through. Oh, maybe it is. Is it that far in the future?
In the future.
In the future.
In the future of the
Wait.
Well, Genesis 6 was the wickedness in the world. So that was kind of talking about...
It would have been before the flood.
It was that's right before the flood. See how 6:9 is Noah and the flood.
Yeah.
So it's right before.
Gosh, it's definitely in here. Where did I put it?
Oh, man.
There's also, like, the light on the camera shining my eyes, so there's a white spot and I can't see properly.
We did not.
You know, I don't think it shows the 6 I used before that.
It does not shine through my computer screen.
Ah, I found it!
There you go. What do you got?
Oh, no, I didn't find it. It was...
This is just what we like to call it.
Wait.
Nobody business.
Wait! Ah, gosh. It's in here. Anyway, it's talking about the giants, which I found was very interesting. Basically, there was some stuff that happened. Some giant people were born, and it stuck out to me because giants actually come up multiple times in the Bible. Spoiler alert, that will be happening throughout this podcast. Because there's Goliath, who's a giant, which it talks about descendant. When they first go to Canaan, which actually used the same specific Hebrew word, the spies, Israel, is going to check out the promised land, and they're like, oh no, there's these really tall giant people. And so it comes up there, it comes up again in Ezekiel with like these great warriors that are giants. And most of the time, like I think every time that I saw them mentioned, the giants were always bad guys. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and this is where, once again, I think, because if anybody, what was the movie called Noah? The one with...
was that the really recent one that was new?
Not very recent. It must
it was newish.
Yes, for you, yes, it was probably after 1990.
Okay,
so
whatever.
But Russell Crowe played Noah, I think.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't actually watch it, but I know what you're talking about.
Don't. But because they kind of go, they really...
Were there giants in that movie?
Tons. Giants, rock people, like,
wow.
They went on the weird side of things. Which,
like sci-fi.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's the thing, is there's giants in here. Why I went to Genesis 6 is because that's when they talk about the fact that the sons of God went to the daughters of the humans.
Yeah,
and had children. Yeah. So, like, it gets into the point where, like, okay, now if this is happening, where does this go? How does this play out? And this is where it gets a little interesting. So.
Yeah, it is very interesting. That was one of the weirder ones.
Yes.
But I remembered it because they come up a lot. Like, we usually think of the David and Goliath story, but they show up multiple times in the Bible. Yeah. Usually bad guys.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Giants getting bad raps.
Yeah. Even like, there's this small passage of scripture where it's talking about David's mighty men, and it talks about some of them killing the sons of the giants or something like that.
But do you
remember
think,
exactly what it was, but
like, do you think people were just smaller back then in stature? So like, if somebody was
Goliath was like 9 foot.
Yeah.
9 or something. I mean, that's still pretty tall.
It's just good eating.
That's just good.
I think.
Yeah, he had a couple cows per meal. Some good eating. Alright, so that was my weird one.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of science ones. I like to think about science. So I was thinking about, like, the Bible would say something, and I would be thinking about, what would this look like if I pictured this scientifically, you know?
All right.
So, for example, when it's Genesis 1:9, and it says, "Then God said, let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place, so dry ground may appear." And I was like, holy crap, that's Pangea! Anybody? Anybody else think that? I literally thought that as soon as I wrote it.
Is that the second movie for Avatar?
Pangea?
Pangea?
Is it?
Is that the world?
Is that actually a thing? It's like the world when it was one big mass continent, which is what it sounds like pre-flood. There was one big mass continent, possibly. And then it also occurred to me this, because then later in the Noah story, the ark, it says the ark was raised above the highest mountain, right? Do you remember reading that? So what I was thinking about when I was reading it is I was like, well, okay, if we look at this from the perspective of Pangea, maybe there wasn't a lot of plate tectonic movement yet, which means the mountains maybe weren't that high. Because my immediate thought was, you climb the tallest mountain, you're dying because the air is super thin, right? Like, and yet the boat rises, it says higher than the highest mountain. So the mountains couldn't have been that tall. This was my science brain thinking about all this.
And you know what I thought about this whole time? It's like, could you imagine being on a boat with that many animals?
I did think, can you imagine being on a boat for a year with the same 4 or 5 people? You would hate them or really love them.
Well, I mean, it's a big enough boat.
They didn't kill each other.
I mean, there's got to be enough going on with all those animals. Like, you couldn't
like
be able to get away.
You could watch your own
I think
room.
so. But
still, it'd be like the same people for a full year.
Oh, and it smells so bad.
And it would probably, I would hope they would have good ventilation, but I don't know.
But yeah, tectonic plates and
yes.
shifting. And
so, those were my science thoughts.
Or,
oh,
look at that giraffe.
Oh, look at that giraffe. That's so pretty. I was also thinking about in Sodom and Gomorrah, when it was talking about God destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, and it describes fire falling from the sky, basically. And I was like, that's either got to be like a meteor, which I guess a meteor, has a meteor hit the Earth yet, or is that an asteroid? No, I think it's a meteor. Anyways, so it was either like a meteor, or maybe it was like a volcanic eruption thing like Pompeii, because then what's-her-name looks back and she turns into a pillar of salt, which really just made me think about Pompeii. So, boom, Pompeii before Pompeii.
Wow. Pre-Pompeii.
Pre-Pompeii. You think Pompeii would have, maybe they didn't read the Bible. I don't know. So those were my science thoughts. Did you have any science thoughts?
I don't have science thoughts.
There were so many. There were so many things that I was like, wow, think about this from a scientific standpoint, what this could be. It's very interesting.
Yeah. We'll go on.
Anyways.
Maybe I don't have a science brain.
I wrote down a bunch of other things, but those ones were probably, we don't need to go on a 30 minute
science lesson? That's you need a whiteboard. You need to draw diagrams and charts for us.
Okay, so for me there was one touching moment. Did you have any of those touching moments? I put it down because I thought it was fun. Okay, Rebecca and Isaac. And this was touching to me because there is so much family strife throughout the whole Genesis. Like, literally, the first siblings kill each other. The next couple people kill each other. There's a bunch of murders that begin happening.
They're trying to figure it out.
There's some family feuds. There's, like, some greed stuff happening. There was so much bad things, like, relationally wise. So then it gets to Rebecca and Isaac. I was going to say Isaiah. Then it gets to Rebecca and Isaac, and there's like this nice moment where she like sees him from afar, and she gets off her camel, and she's like, who is that person over there? And then it says like, he loved her deeply, and she helped comfort him after his mother's death. And I was like, finally! Some good relationships! Somebody cares about somebody else. I mean, that's really how it felt to me. I was like, ugh. It was like the redemption relationship.
I mean, it was pretty touching when Abraham didn't kill his son. That's pretty touching.
Well, I sort of put that under a different category.
But he was going to.
He was going to. I think the fact that he was going to made it not as touching for me. But that was me. Did you have a touching moment?
Mine was going to be the Giants, but you called them weird, so now Giants can't be touching.
I was really touched when I thought about tall people. No, and my family is very tall, so I get that.
Like I said, the last time, and this is it's so funny to see people's perspective when they read the same text and how you look at it. Because that's like, you're looking at it from the relational side. And last year or 2 years ago is when I tried to go through lineage, and then I was really into the relational aspect. Like, okay, this person's with, and how are they getting along? And oh, that guy murdered that guy. Whoops. They're not getting along very well. That's weird. But that's how I went. And like this is really just sitting back from that fresh perspective of, man, this is how God created, and this is how God is trying to be in relationship, and this is the environment that God gave us, and this is how we're using that environment, and this is how God keeps trying to be part of that environment, and we keep screwing it up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the perspective of not the relationship so much between people, but the relationship between God and His people.
Yeah.
Is how I'm kind of looking at it. So
that's very true.
Yeah.
Which then brings me to what I put down. I have 2 wow verses.
All right.
The first one was a bad one, and it was the second time Abraham told somebody his wife was his sister and almost killed an entire people group. Because I was like, wow, Abraham, what were you thinking? I put in my notes, like in parentheses. I noticed my notes were getting like sassier as I went on, but I put in my notes, bad life choices, 101. And then I got to that passage and I'm like, bad life choices, 201. Because he does it twice.
But wouldn't you think you would like just get, hey, just be honest.
Yeah, just tell people.
Because now,
just come on.
The second time, I'm trying to think like time frame of when that happened.
Because the first one is Egypt.
Yeah.
And he's traveling around, he ends up in Canaan. Because he goes to Egypt for a famine, goes back to Canaan. Then he's in Canaan, he's hanging out with the Philistines, there's this guy Abimelech. It happens further into the future.
So you would think that at that point, like, he's trusted God so much that he'd be like, you know what, I should probably be upfront and honest about what's going on in my life.
And tell people.
Like, maybe early on, he might be like, yeah, I still got control of this, so you know what, I think I'm smarter. But by this point, you would think he'd be like, you know what, God, I'm all in.
Yeah.
These are my people, this is my person, so I'll...
And you gotta think too, how pretty was Sarah that he was constantly in fear for his life just because he married her?
Yeah, what a catch.
What a catch.
Is that flattering or is
and then I was like, if I was Sarah, I would be so ticked off. Like, I'd be like, what were you thinking? Why? Abraham. So that was my wow, that was my bad wow.
There you go, that's a bad wow. You have a good wow?
Here's my good wow. So I was reading about the son sacrifice, which did not end up happening. But I actually read through it twice because I was kind of reading it and I was taking notes and I was thinking about it. And whenever I have read that passage about Isaac being sacrificed, I usually am just like, what in the world is happening right now? Like, number one, if God was like, oh, go sacrifice your sibling or something, I'd be like, you're not God. Like, I know that's not you speaking to me right now because God wouldn't ask me to kill somebody. So it was like, and I never really knew how to interpret that passage. I feel like, for me, it was always really weird. It just felt like a weird passage. But, this time, when I was reading it, I was very struck by the parallel between Abraham and Isaac and God and Jesus. And I actually put down the verse for it.
Spoiler alert?
Spoiler! Oh yeah, spoiler. Jesus.
Jesus.
I feel like that spoiler is okay. you can have that one. But he says this. So he's saying this. Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much. Go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you. And then again later he says, this is what the Lord says, because you have obeyed and not withheld even your son, your only son, I swear by my own name that, and then it goes to the other verse. But what I was struck by is just the way that I was reading it. It kept saying, like, your son, your only son, whom you love so much, whom I'm asking you to sacrifice. And it hit me with the verse of John 3:16, where it says, for God so loved the world, he gave his only son. And so it was just like this different way of looking at it, where I was like, whoa, okay, number one, this is some serious foreshadowing that's going on right here. And it just kind of took me to a different place of this moment where it's just kind of this very intimate moment where Abraham is nearly experiencing what God later experiences with Jesus. And just how much depth this passage has to it.
Well, and that's, once you have at least a working knowledge of the Bible as a whole. The New Testament, Old
that makes a
Testament,
big difference.
But that's the thing, is it's crazy when those things just pop out at you and you're like, wow, that is that. And that's really what it is, because that's how I look at it, is he stripped away everything and he said, listen, I am all in on this, God. I am throwing everything I've got at you, and I'm listening to everything, no matter what it takes, no matter what that means. I'm trusting you with every part of my being. And he goes up there, and then God stops it right at that moment. But Abraham was in it, and that's where it's so humbling for me to think, like, wow, I can't stop this, or I can't give up this, or no, I'm going to keep control of this. Mm-hmm. When he was willing to give up the one thing that he didn't want to give up, he was ready to release that. And God is showing you that, yeah, even from that human perspective, if you don't understand the whole God-Jesus dynamic, and listen, I'm going to put a human face in a human relationship to what that would be like.
Yes, it very much is. It's like a huge parallel.
Yeah.
And I think what you were saying when you were talking about, like, this really feels like is talking about God's relationship with us. And I didn't actually write this all down, but I very much did notice throughout Genesis chapter 1 through 24, there's a lot of personal interactions with God. Like, you see him in so many different variations. You see him in the garden when he's hanging out with Adam and Eve. You see him when he's disappointed. You see him with Hagar when it says, man, God saw me and God heard me. And then you see him later when, like, Lot's hesitating, he's not going out of the city, and literally the angel grabs him and drags him out of the city and pushes him out. In all of these different instances, and then there's another part where it says, and God sent him, I think it was Abraham somewhere, and it says, and I will send an angel ahead of you to prepare. And just so there's all these different instances where when you look at it, you can see these different aspects of God. Just like in it. Even like with Sodom and Gomorrah, where God is like, you know, Abraham, it sounds like Abraham's whittling him down, but really it's like, it's God. And he's like, listen, I will spare the city. There are only 10 people in it who are righteous. Unfortunately, there weren't even 10. There weren't even 10. But, like, you see this depth of mercy, like, this personalization of this guy who hears you and he sees you and he wants to hang out with you. He literally sits down and he eats with Abraham. And so there's just so much intensity to it. And then that parallel with Abraham and Isaac and God and Jesus.
Yeah, and it's just so, like I said, humbling is the only way I can really describe it, because it's like, you can read all the passages of, you can do anything through God, through Christ who strengthens me. You know, you can do all of that, and you can hear how Jesus taught. But, like, you can have this loving, caring relationship with the God who created everything, and he wants the best for you. And no matter, he wants that relationship. And throughout this whole book, throughout the whole Testament, throughout everything, we're going to see that we keep trying to push God away. We keep trying to screw it up, and we keep making these mistakes. And he keeps chasing after us and being there and wants to be in those tight-knit relationships with us. And it's like, but this is setting the tone to say, why would he ever want to be in a relationship with me? Like, do you see all the stuff that he did, what he created, what he put in place, how he orchestrated this whole thing? It's like, and he wants a relationship with me? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's mind-blowing. So that's my big wow.
Yeah. It's very cool. What I was looking at, so moving towards next steps, because we're all about next steps. For me, I think the two big things, like theme-wise, that came out of this really was relationship. God's relationship with us and our relationship with others. I mean, thematically, we see this turmoil with relationships throughout. I mean, siblings are killing each other. There's like these tense marital relationships happening. There's like adultery. There's all sorts of it gets really bad. But But it's this tension of human relationships with each other, and then again God's relationship with us.
So you're thinking like the parallel, when Jesus says to love God
and love one another. I mean, legitimately, Genesis is setting up some crazy stuff in the future.
Yeah, stay tuned.
So I think from here, what I took as my next step, and what I really got out of this was, how am I, number one, in that deep relationship with God, and me personally understanding God more? Because I don't think I take enough time to try and understand God more, to really look at His characteristics and what He does. And the second one is, how can I love how do we love one another better? How can I love other people better? Because there's just some crazy relational tension in here that I really don't want to be a part of. So
it's so funny that if you listen to this podcast and you listen months down the road, when we get to that part of the New Testament, we're going to be talking about Jesus in the same way. We're going to have the same podcast. We're like, wow, Jesus said that we should really love God with everything that we've got.
That's crazy.
Really get to know Him. And we should love each other.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Pretty much.
But no, that's my big takeaway from it is, where is my relationship with God? And what have I, either on purpose or just by not thinking about it, have left Him out of the equation in things in my life? Like, where do I need to bring Him in and say, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't have control of this. You should be in control of this. Self-reflection.
Yes.
See?
Self-reflection. You always got to bring it back to
It's
that.
always got to be that.
Yeah.
It's always got to be that. And then, are you really looking out for the people around you? Are you really loving and caring for them the right way? Or are you hitting them over the head with a rock?
Yes.
Hopefully
don't
not
do that
hitting them over the head with a rock.
There are consequences.
It doesn't work out well.
So there are so many other tidbits in here and details. I would encourage you to get into it. I haven't even hit it all. Notes. I certainly have no type notes. There's so much in here. And so what we have for you then is this. If you have any questions about us or about different parts of the Bible, we would love for you to post those on Facebook. Ask some questions, whether it be personal, whether it be spiritual, whatever it is. We would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts of a verse that stuck out to you and you just want to share, we would love for you to share that. What is your weird verse? What is your wow verse? Whatever that is.
And if you have a really weird one, we'll act it out for you. Right here. We've got characters.
I don't know.
We'll pick scenes and we'll just go back and forth.
As long as it works, I will agree to those terms.
There you go.
And then finally, what are your next steps? Some great next steps. There's a How to Read Your Bible class here, week 4 of this month. So that is a great opportunity to get in, where we really talk about genres, cultural context, different things like that. And then also, what is your plan? Whether maybe you haven't started the plan yet, and what's your plan to catch up, or what's your plan to add a chapter every day, or if you're on a plan right now, really, what's your plan to stay on it? Stick with it. Do you have accountability, whatever that is?
Because right now, we're in the good stuff.
We are.
And it's all good stuff.
We have not reached the lineage and the censuses that keep happening.
Don't worry. And if you're wired that way, then there's exciting stuff to come. But if you're not, there's still exciting stuff to come.
There are some recaps. The most difficult passage for me to read was when Abraham's servant goes to find Rebecca and then recaps literally his whole story word for word. And I was like, this is the first recap in the Bible, and it's painful.
They didn't have theme music.
They didn't have theme music. It didn't make it better. So, what is your next step? Get in this How to Read the Bible plan. We're so excited. And thank you for listening to What Now with Anna and Eric.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm Anna.
I'm Eric.
And Eric is going to turn off this live video.
Maybe.
Well, I share with you my final fun verse, which would be during the Bad Life Choices 201, Abimelech, the king who had just been tricked by Abraham, says to Sarah, let me see if I can find the exact verse. Let me see. I'm going to have to recap it because I can't see anything at all. But basically he looks at Sarah and he says, here, I've given you all of these things, and then in quotations, so your brother knows that I've done right. And I was like, he is totally giving her sass right now. All right, have a great day.